I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first item is the approval of the agenda. Does anyone on the board have any questions?
Yes, Mr. President, I'm going to add to old business. I'm going to be making a request for a special meeting of the board to talk through the facilities usage policy. Bob and Christine have been working on, not today, but just to set a meeting for us to walk through that policy. Okay. And under liaisons, I will have a very short bracket and ARC updates, very short. That's the next today. What? Because I was busy. Oh. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Bill,
Just watch
look
out.
at Shadow.
Mr. President, I was away for a week and I just got this yesterday. It's an application for an advisory committee for Tim Mullen for the Green Advisories Committee. If you want to add that, that's fine. If not, we'll wait till next month.
Is that Tim
That's fine.
McMullen?
Yeah, Tim Mullen, M-U-L-L-I-N.
Is there also a Tim McMullen?
Yes, there's two.
One of those guys. Yeah, we'll add that to the.
Next month.
I think it's spelled.
We'll do that next month.
No, put it in now. Why not? That doesn't add much of anything. Okay, I also have an addition. I'm going to pass this motion out. And basically, it's a motion to bring the motion that was made 2 months ago and put on the table for 2 months. Now, to put it back on the table. That's motion 23 February to fund, I think it was $450 to the Warrior.
Is this new business or old business?
It'd be old business, I think.
So it'll be a motion.
Actually, the motion's on the table. It's on the table.
The motion is already on the table, but you need a motion to take it off the table. And I attached the original motion. There you go. Okay. That's all the changes we need for the agenda. Approval of minutes. February 7th, 2015, special meeting. Do I have a motion? Are there any corrections?
The 7th, special meeting.
7th, February 7th.
February 7th. That's what I said, yeah.
February 7th.
I move it.
Second. All in favor? Okay. February 28th, regular meeting.
Yeah, Mr. President, correction, under foreclosure purchase, they refer to a Mary Clark. I'm assuming that that's Marty Clark.
It says Marty Clark.
Mine says Mary.
Where?
Right
Where?
there.
Oh, yeah. That's the cute one.
I like Mary better,
Yeah, I do too. I leave it
but it's really Marty, right?
Yeah.
You did say it.
Can I have a motion to approve the consent?
So moved. Discussion?
Discussion?
Yes, well, there's other.
Okay.
I have a question. One, Burr Hill, Marty Clark asked if the county issued a permit. Bob was going to look into it. What were the results results of that search? Was there a permit indicated? Anybody know?
I don't know, Jack.
It says Marty Clark asked if the county issued a permit. Bob Thompson said he was not sure. Would check on that. Marty Clark asked he should charge him permit fee. If not, do we care if the county gave the permit? We shouldn't issue a permit if the county has not issued one, except. And, you know.
I don't have that with me, Mr. Thompson.
Okay.
I got a question. One of the reasons I'm having a hard time correcting it is I can't find it. Maybe somebody can find it. In this meeting, we discussed the investments of our CDs or whatever our reserve monies are. And if I remember, you were going to do some research on better rates, better places. I don't see any mention of it in here. I'm not saying have you done it. It was spoken at the meeting, and I thought we were going to focus on doing better with our investments. Can we add that to the minutes? I mean, that was something.
Well, Marty, on your controller's report, you asked if we could start shopping money around, like to Shore Bank and a CD.
Where's that? Help me.
Under GM report attached, controller's report. There's your comment. I think it's covered.
Right below the president's report.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep, you helped me get my memory back.
Michelle, good job.
Moved and seconded for approval as adjusted. All in favor?
Aye.
Thursday, March 12th, special meeting. Changes, comments?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thursday, March 12th.
Move to approve.
There's a correction here. I think it's Betty Gray.
You're not on the right page. You're on March 12th.
Sorry, turn the page. Okay. Go ahead. This is what, Thursday the 12th?
March 12th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Saturday, March 28th.
Yes, it is Betty Gray. B is in boy, R-E-Y, and it says Ocean Pines president should be resident. And that is under president.
I saw that. Move to approve.
What was the spelling of her name?
B is in boy, R-E-Y, Gray.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
I suppose it's with the minutes. Moving president's remarks. I have just one thing. I recently read an opinion piece in our local titled "Abolish the Search Committee," and I really didn't think that much about it, except that I found two many respects, even more response. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but the time in this article, when we have a committee with very capable volunteers in place trying to do their job, is really unfortunate. The author made it clear enough that he was not criticizing our committee. However, reading in the press that the job we were doing is worthless is discouraging, particularly when it's not true. Section 502 of our bylaws states that by February 1st each year, the president shall appoint a search committee, subject to the confirmation of the board. That means we either have to change the bylaws via referendum or do what they say. I'm not going to go through the points in the article, but I will say that even if no search committee in the entire history of Ocean Pines ever produced a single candidate, they would still have great value as an open, stress open and proactive process for encouraging members to participate in governance of the ocean. That speaks very highly of the health and integrity of the entire community. Our current search committee is a really good example of that. And moving on to the general manager.
Well, Mr. President, if I could add to your comments,
Yes, you may.
thank you. When I ran for office, there was a lady who probably doesn't want to be mentioned because, maybe she's sorry she incented me to run for this board. But if it wasn't for her, I would not have run. And she was very proactive, very knowledgeable, very interested. And I think that that's the kind of feedback that candidates receive from this particular committee. I think it's a good thing.
We had a meeting last night, I'll just mention. They had, and 5 of them were there. They went through it, but they basically went through, what the benefits were of becoming or running. And basically they did it for one person. However, if that one person decides to run, it was well worth it.
Dave, I agree with you, and I appreciate you making those comments. That committee has been working extremely hard, and I think it was disingenuous, that article, to not be favorable on their hard work that they're doing.
I need to follow on to what Jack said, because whether you like me sitting here or not, the reality is it was the search committee back then that got me interested in to run the report. So were there to be any hint that that committee doesn't function well and doesn't perform, at least 2 of the 7 people sitting up here were in fact recruited to run based on that committee. So I thoroughly disagree with that article. Thank you.
Now you're making me feel bad because nobody ever called me.
Or me.
Or me.
For good reason.
I got it.
Or any of the people that tried to last year. Somebody called you,
These are
Jeff?
here. Okay.
Nobody's called Jeff Member?
Will you
It's a fact. They call who they want to call.
This year, yes. This year.
There you go.
Mitt Roland Langham doesn't get any phone calls.
Let's move into general manager's report. Starting with the controller's report. Are there any questions regarding the numbers?
I do have a question. Under Paul. This is March. Bob, can you explain to us how the maintenance could be slashed so drastically? It's been getting cut every month. The last month, it was 80% cut. I'm not finding it. There it is. Budget was $39,000. We spent $71,36. We doing what we're concerned about other operators doing in order to make budget? They just don't do anything?
Yes, I'm comfortable with where we are. I'll give you a breakdown anticipating the question. Landscape supplies were down $2K because they didn't put the mulch in as early as they usually would because it was still cold during the time and the flowers aren't grow anyway, so mulch wasn't installed. We saved some money there. Course supplies were down $4K. They had flag sticks and rakes that they covered last year with PVC, a rubberized material. Typically, they had to replace those because of all the use. They covered them with this rubberized material this year that you heat up and it seals them. And the rakes ended up, they shrink wrap. That's exactly what they did. And so they held up. So that was $4K, the supplies that did not need reorder. Equipment repair, because there was less mowing because it was still cold and damp, there was less mowing. So we saved about $3,000 on equipment repair. The herbicide was saved on because the pre-emergence wasn't necessary. Again, when it's not growing, the weeds aren't growing either. So there was a $5,000 savings there. Fertilizer, again, with the limited growth through the month of March, there was a savings on that. Sand, they had some leftover sand from the fall, which they just used that for filling some of the bunkers and such, so they didn't need to buy new. And that was a $5,000 save. Again, with the lack of growing, the seeding and sprigging that they usually do wasn't a necessity, and that was a $2,000 save. So overall, those accounted for about $27,000 of the $35,000 savings.
Of those that you mentioned, I mean, some of them looks like safe, but how many of those are going to be carried into? Well, we didn't do it because of weather, wet, whatever. Punch, we have to carry. I mean, in other words, are you going to see a bump up in April?
No, you shouldn't. What happens is because it wasn't growing, we're not bringing the staff in as early, so you don't have the maintenance cost of mowing, sprigging, those type of things. So it'll happen this month, but it would be something that would be happening the first 2 months of the season in either case. We just didn't have to do it in March. And the course conditions are actually, despite the cold in the season, are actually in very, very good shape as we open up for the spring. So when they budget for worst case scenario, and then we actually have a good spring from the conditions, of course, you just don't need to spend all that money.
Thank you. Sure. Anything else?
Well, in the last 2 months, it's 42,000 acres of shrubs.
Bring the mic closer, please.
42,000 in 2 months of maintenance. I just want to be sure we keep a close eye and it's not something get big.
Yeah, Mr. President, are we down to reports yet? Question?
No.
Okay.
I think not. We're, I think, talking about unfinished business.
Reports distributed this month, number 5 under the manager's report. Manager's report, Roman numeral 5 was distributed. Monthly control.
No, not yet.
Okay.
I think there is some questions.
Okay.
You get down. I've got questions.
Sure. The White Horse boat ramp, you're estimating 15 May?
Well, no, actually, we had good news today. When I finished this report, they still weren't 100% sure when the floating dock was going to be delivered. It was actually delivered yesterday and installed today. Ramps will be open fully this weekend.
Good work.
Looks good, too, if anybody hasn't seen it.
Okay.
We ought to get a notice in the papers. Right now, I was surprised we weren't going there. They're all driving up. Village, a lot of boats.
Okay, the marina fuel pumps, 1 May.
And they'll be open this weekend. They're actually functional. Everything's good now. A couple of tweaks.
The Swimming Racket Club splash pad.
Yeah, we're still wrestling that one to the ground. We've met with the state folks and the county folks about the slipperiness there. We've talked to a couple different contractors about some options. We're going to have, and we also had an RFP that was up that identified some work that we need to have. We only had one proposal come in, and it actually came in after the date of the time that they called us and said it was going to be delayed. So we're still working out what options we have there. One of the state/county inspectors we're talking to the other day actually said the challenge with splash pads from the compliance standpoint, there's only one Comar suggestion, or Comar, one area in Comar that actually addresses how splash pads are to be maintained, monitored, the difficulties with them, and what the requirements are. So it's a relatively new item, and they're trying to make some updates there. So we're talking to them to make sure anything did would meet any of the things that are coming forward in the next year or so, because whatever we do changes there, we don't want to have to tear up immediately behind it. So we'll have, I believe within the next 2 weeks, a final recommendation for what right now, short-term and long.
That'll be our recommendation. Did the state have any comment on addition of the splash pads or construction?
The concerns were, the primary concern was the peeling squares, which we've had since it's been installed. That's the tripping hazard. That was really the primary concern they had with it.
We also have pool.
Yeah, and they didn't have a formal. They only came out and inspected it once. They inspected it once during the season last year. Paul, we don't get time frame, so when it first opened, they inspected it. It came one other time. They didn't know the cooling or the water coming off the pad at that time, so there was no deficiency. When it, if and when we get it open this season, they'll come out. They've already been out once for us and walked it. We kind of kicked some ideas back and forth based on we had some feedback with contractors. Again, it's a gray area, which is a little uncomfortable. You'd rather have here the Omar regs specifically, and we just follow these to fix it, and then it's just not that definitive.
Okay. Anybody else?
I got, you want pictures of the bonding? I have a picture. I mean, it was,
Yeah,
it
we've
was
got
all
it.
bonded
Yeah.
up in 3 days.
That's the trouble. There are at least three problems. One is the slipping, one is the peeling, and then the other is the fact that it's not level.
Yeah, what happens, it's ponding right now, if you, where you guys are seeing, like if you had recent pictures, ponding where it's discolored, where the leaves and debris, that's really where that's the intake. So they're going to pond because there's no pump sucking that water in, going through the filtration and blowing it back out of elements there, the guns and things. So it will pond there this time. What our biggest thing that occurs is not the ponding, because it's supposed to pool there. That's where the drains are that bring the water in. It's losing the water because it doesn't drain towards those drains effectively enough. So we have to keep an eye on the pump not running all the water out.
So we got 2 of them?
3. There are actually drains where they pull the water in. 3 of them.
I've only seen 2 ponds.
Yeah, but there's actually 3 intake areas.
Bob, is it anticipated it will not be open by Memorial Day?
We will not have it open by Memorial Day. Now, the flip side of that coin is it's still chilly, and that's where young kids, so the parents actually don't usually start using it until the end anyway. So not saying that's good or bad, but we are still working to figure out how and when we can get it this season.
Okay. All right. The Mumford's Landing.
You want to do
Swim and racket.
Swim and racket pool?
Swimming racket? Oops, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I saw 2 swimming rackets.
Yeah, no, that's coming along. If you had a chance to go and peek through the fence, just about everything's finished there with the exception of the final plaster coat. The tile work's in, the depth markers are in, the lane lines are in, the new stairs are in, mounted in the walls as opposed to dragging one of them, so that one's actually coming on real well. We're on the schedule somewhere between 10 and 15 of May to get that finished up. And that's the last part of the plaster, and they, as they do it with the plaster, and they trowel it all out, and they have to keep water in it. It cures over a couple of days, and we're go from there.
Tennis courts are
Finished.
completed, and Mumford Landing.
Mumford Landing pool, just about a week behind Sports Corp. They were actually putting the coping tiles in today, so we're finalizing that. That's where we just finished with the swim and racket coping tiles. The new tiles are going down, so they're about a week behind the finish of the swim and racket. Then they'll come right to Mumford.
We're still talking about
Memorial Day.
opening Memorial Day.
Is that work being done in complete compliance with the names or Hines or whatever it is? Is Hines there for the floors?
I wasn't there the day they poured. I'm assuming they were. Hang on. We followed the mix. We called their primary concern was mix. I think it was Atlantic Concrete that actually received the required mix from Hines for what to mix before they came and brought the material. In addition, the SPAS team actually cut larger holes in the water side being the base side of to make sure that when they do put that concrete in, the squares instead of leaving just the little ones they had. They actually cut some bigger squares out to make sure there weren't any other depressions down there. So if you've had a chance to look at it, you'll see they actually took more out. The primary reason why is because they were able to, they'll patch up concrete and then the liners going in. If you recall, we approved the liners so it didn't have to be exact match color-wise. So that worked out.
There was nobody there for us. They were reporting this after hours. So we can get our hands on batch tickets. So we get
We certainly can if you want.
Yeah, I'd like to be sure that, I just want to be sure Heinz gets it, because I don't want Heinz to don't know. We're paying for that.
We are.
I just got, somebody better protect the batch tickets. There's nobody there for us or Heinz. This was reported last night.
Okay. New business, RFI, for reserve studies. We're going to stand on that.
Actually, that's I didn't have that report. That's a report that was crafted from this CIT, and it was emailed out, but I didn't generate that report. I just did a quick review of it. So really, that Mr. Stevens was you doing, Jerry Bay.
Yeah, I saw it. Ted and Jerry both were.
And neither did I.
And, but I think my understanding is waiting for approval to go out.
I can put it out once. If you want it out, I'll have it out tomorrow. Again, I reviewed what was sent to me, but again, I didn't have.
I've seen it. Jerry's seen it. Seen Ted's.
I've never seen it.
Well, I think you have it in soft copy form. How about let's get email it out to the board. Tomorrow.
I'll have it
the board.
I get it.
Board review it and get their
Want to do a target Wednesday next week to have it out?
Yeah. That's it next week.
All right, so if I don't get comments from anybody on anything, I'll go ahead and proceed Wednesday morning to put it out.
Sure. It's not very full.
It's not very
full.
No, it's not. But again, I'm not the lead on that, so I reviewed it, but that was it. I figured the board was reviewing it as well. No, I mean I can do whatever you want.
No, well, go straight.
Well, you want me to email it out to the board tomorrow?
Yeah.
And then our out date where I'll push it out from our office will be Wednesday of next week.
Right.
Is that okay?
Sure. It's an RFI.
Oh, I
It's
agree.
not an RFP. So basically, we want to know who's out there who doesn't know. We do have actually, it's from the work. Yeah, forget their name. But people who've been doing the park reserve studies from the beginning. Jerry has a copy.
He's provided that to me as well.
Oh, so
Yeah, I have that, and I pulled up the CAI and looked at some national companies there as well. So all those folks.
Yeah, I think it's important to get that. We need to know what it costs.
All right, they'll come out to you all tomorrow with an email, and then Wednesday we'll send it out to the potential respondents.
Okay, let's move on to major amenities. Go. Any questions on that? Okay. Yacht Club, questions on that?
In spite of rosy revenues, we had another month. We lost $36,000. The yacht club report was handed out. This guy, final dashboard. Does anybody mind if we push that off? I got that 3 days ago. That's just not work.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find an appropriate place to put that in. I guess I should have done it in the president's remark. But since the questions come up, let me just point out, and this is all I was going, is that we received 2 reports. One is from Bob, which is yacht report, which basically is lessons learned regarding the construction of the yacht club, including a dashboard report on the final post. And I've read it once, but you can say I've studied it. And I felt that any discussion that we had on, if the board wants, and I think will, should be held in a special meeting. We just don't have the time today. So, I would also point out, too, that we prepared, there was a report that came from the club's advisory committee that issues adapting to a new venue, which is kind of on the other side, the operational side, some of the challenges, and then some of their recommendations for what to do next. And again, I think that's a report that needs some studying and some discussion. Both of these, not necessarily at the same time. They are different. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. And the only other report on this list is the annual annual delinquent assessments. And again, unless they want to go through
We
that.
didn't finish aquatics. Is everything fine with aquatics?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
You keep jumping. Just want to be sure of that.
I have. Anybody have any comments on aquatics? I don't.
Okay.
Okay. Jack, you said something about a report.
Just a couple questions. The final report that was distributed, there were some overall conclusions, Bob, and one of those had to do with the initiation of closure proceedings on properties of those members whose accounts are delinquent more than 1 year, who are not currently involved in either bankruptcy or foreclosure proceedings. And I was wondering if you could update the board on where we are as far as that procedure is concerned, any timeline as to when that procedure, would be finalized, put in place, and, we follow.
Yeah, if you recall during the meeting itself, we talked about that. We have a series of processes that are in place where Ruth Ann Myers actually handles. She's filing it to the house. She's following up with it, and then ultimately going forward as needed. So that was in the report. So if you recall, unless there's anything other than that, I guess for the whole board to know,
that's what I'm concerned about. The whole board understanding what the process is.
Yeah, what happens is as those delinquent, we started with, and this is in the report, which is kind of a quick overview. We started tackling some of the larger amount, the over 5,000 window and the under 5,000. Found that ones that were the most egregious at the over 5,000, the net results weren't very good. It was costly to file. You also need an attorney. We discussed that last year and then followed up again this year. Moving forward, the under 5,000, we have had success, and I don't have the report in front of me, but it's in that report. We are having success with those. We're getting to them a little bit earlier, and response has been better from membership. So we're pursuing that. Ruth Ann has learned a little more each time she does them, and we're starting to do them in blocks. Yes, sir.
Could you also, for the sake of membership too, which I think the board's up to speed, but we're running into some huge, what's the word? We have budgeted X $60,000, $70,000 for write-offs because the other shoe is hitting. We don't have any control of closure, pain solution, fine. Picked up. All over the place it's picked up. I guess the banks finally realized these people aren't going to pay them after the time. And due to that, we're going to have a shortfall
Yes, and you're
Size.
talking about the swing. Yeah, you're talking. I don't have it right in front of me, but we're budgeted 60-some thousand,
69,
right?
yeah.
And we're really going to be closer to 190, 210.
Right,
Is where it may be more than that, but I'm saying as of last we looked at this a few weeks back, that was our tracking number for the delinquencies that would be under that foreclosure.
Would it be a benefit to the folks on the board and to the membership to review that on a regular basis to see where we are, to report that number, those foreclosure numbers?
We track it.
I mean, I'm
What
asking
can you
the
do
board.
about it, Jack?
Nothing.
There's not a thing you can do
Not
about
a thing.
foreclosure.
But is there knowledge that you should have or not?
We could budget, as I think we did this year.
We budgeted more this year.
Higher because of the pandemic.
It's up to the board. If the board doesn't care, I mean, that's fine with
Well, I
me.
care. I think we ought to know that this ought to be on our radar every month.
Well, it's not a difficult thing to do. It's information. So, I mean, I'm saying it's not.
No, the board wants it in the
But
GM
you're
report.
doing it.
No, well, I mean, we can put it in the monthly GM report if you.
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
I think only till we wade through this month. I mean, biggest piece of this is going to be gone in 2 years, I'm guessing. And then we'll be back to the same 50. People owe us a lot of money that don't pay anything.
Okay, Bob, the other question was in overall conclusions. The committee also agreed that seeking alternative collection agency engagement was a good idea given the limited results we currently obtained. Is there a timeline on that? Where are we on that?
Yeah, what we elected to do, the current, one of the steps we started a year ago and following up again this year was sending folks to the credit bureau, collection agency with the hope, and this is kind of the last ditch effort there. We send it to them because we can still collect through the collection agency. But of course, there's a percentage that they take off the top for anything they collect. Right. And we went into some detail on that. We have not had the level of success we had hoped we would with the local collection agency we're using. So we expanded it to some national agencies, and we're negotiating with a couple of them to find out what type of spread. We've got a list of them. Art's actually been taking the lead on that and talking with them. We're down to 2 that we seem to like, and we're trying to get some additional information. So I can't guarantee what the results are, but it's kind of that next step. We tried one, it didn't work, so we're trying another.
But could you keep us informed on that, Bob?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you. That's it.
Okay.
The other question I had, or comment, is under overall conclusions, exploring the possibility of reporting delinquent accounts to credit bureaus. Makes sense.
Yeah, that was, and that's actually a good catch. That's something that we're talking about with the new credit agencies that we're going to be sending collections to. So really, I guess, would be something from a board perspective, policy. So it's probably something I need to add. We don't have a contract we're negotiated yet, but it's our intent to include reporting the delinquents on the individual members' credit report.
The concern that I have about that, Bob, is that you have to be very careful in terms of input to a credit reporting agency. You know from your banking days, I know from my banking days, you open yourself to some serious criticism and lawsuits if you don't do it properly. It seems to me that if we're using a national collection agency, they're the vehicle through which we enter into the credit bureau.
Yes.
A negative comment.
Correct.
Okay.
And remember, we place liens every
yeah.
September, October, so that gets recorded. They often pop up in the credit report anyway.
Okay, we're saying the same.
Yes. Oh, yeah,
We
absolutely.
agree.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me ask this. I know this every subject. And this has, I don't remember how many years ago. And the question I asked, I think, at that time was, is that going to help us collect? Does that have a better chance if we're to a credit bureau?
You know what?
Or is it simply punishing it?
No. It's another. If you recall, every year we're add to our collection efforts, and every year we've seen results. We went to a credit agency last year for reporting, and we just don't have the results. So instead of giving up on that opportunity, we said, let's try a different agency, because it really doesn't cost us anything at that point. We've exhausted everything else. The liens were there. They've gone to bankruptcy foreclosure, some type of issues occurred where we're kind of out at that point. So we're looking at another effort to collect in addition to going to the courthouse and the process we're following now. So it's just improving the current efforts we have.
Yeah, well, okay, maybe I just don't understand. I get it properly, but I just don't see how reporting credit agencies going to help us get the money. They're not going to go collect for us.
Well, no, they do collect for it. No, what? Okay, actually, this isn't. It's not a hard step here. No. It's a good question. Here's what happens. If we send it to one of these national companies, okay, when we send it to them, we're reporting it as the company that is owed the money. We're reporting to them it's a delinquent account. So one of the things we're talking about with them, what are the steps, A, of their collection efforts, see if we can improve the efforts we've had so we can collect some money. They take a piece of it if they're able to collect. Secondly, they then take it's their responsibility to report it for the credit agencies. So it's just, they do that.
So they'll just do it automatically.
Yes.
Okay, it's not us taking a step.
Sure.
You mentioned bankruptcy. It's a bankruptcy collection agency.
Correct.
Dave, one other comment about the reporting the delinquent accounts to a collection agency. If someone's trying to buy something of value, a house, car, property, they're going to have a credit check done. And if that is on there, in order to buy that house, they're going to have to clean up the credit.
Yeah,
so one way of
true.
cleaning it up is
True.
paying that bill and showing proof that they've paid it. So that's very much, I think, positive.
That's it. And Marty, just to, again, I'm not an attorney on this, but I want to make sure I clarify. Yes, it's in bankruptcy. But we've had some bankruptcies where Ocean Pines was not included as one of the discharge.
Yeah.
So then we still have, correct.
Still alive.
That's correct.
All right, can we move on to capital items? We have quite a few. And we'll go down in order.
Okay. Hoping that we put everything on all these. We checked it 3 times to make this as easy as possible. We hope. Okay. It's all right. We'll start, I believe, the excavators on the top.
Yep.
Okay. This is budgeted for the 15-16. We validated that. You see the recommended staff is one on top. It's actually 1,600 under the. Go ahead, Marty.
So move.
Before taxes. I don't put taxes.
Okay. Jack, go ahead and ask your question. I'll flip the book and see if I can answer that. Jack, you had a question?
No, so moved. Let's approve it. Are we going to approve them all at one
My
time?
question,
Yes, we are.
I have
One
a
at a
question.
time, or what do we do?
Dave, I have a question.
Sure.
Do we pay sales tax?
We do.
So this has really got an additional $4,104. Which puts it over budget by a couple $1,000. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I'll do the calculation.
Actually, the way I calculate, I added all of them up, and we had a net total without the taxes of $18,559 saved that we didn't spend. And we have $644 that was over budget. That was over budget. So
Oh, hold that. You're going into ones we haven't looked at.
I know that, but I'm just telling you.
This one's over budget,
Yeah, so he's doing that. He's doing that.
but it's okay. It's close. I just wish we'd include the
We
tax.
usually, yeah,
Some
Some of them do.
don't. This one says that. So it is.
yep, no, you're correct on that.
Did you second my motion there, Bill? I did. Oh, thank you.
Call the question.
Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Next.
Okay, next one is a dingo, and that's actually an accurate item. We use this all the time.
So
You
moved.
see that.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We really did read.
Right.
Trailer, I know it was under the amount that's required for it.
So moved.
We were on a roll, so.
Yeah.
Just for the record, no tax in this deal.
And he states that. Should be less than 1,000 stated. On the right side under comments.
Okay.
It's so long in our budget. So, you had a second, though? All in
No, I
favor?
didn't, but I will.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Peak or hurricane?
No.
Mower.
We're going to cut the grass for
Gotta cut, yeah.
Lower, 2,600.
Between the pavers.
Again, it's under the 15, but we included.
So moved.
Do also does not tax.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
It's not our money.
You stop.
Marty?
Could we vote on the mower, because I didn't.
Yes, we did
Yes,
vote
we
on
did.
the mower.
It was-
Would you like to vote on the
Thank you.
mower?
It was unanimous. Now I'm at
Just
the,
trying to follow along.
now I'm at the hurricane show. Feedback.
Okay.
Budget amount 25,000.
Yeah, read, make sure taxes right next where Marty gets me on that.
It is on one of them. Well, the sales tax is in
That
on
might
one
be
of
the
them.
difference in the comparison.
That's-
No, it's not on there. You can bet next month everything we have will have taxes. I can assure you of that.
Yes, Maryland sales taxes.
This does include installation.
It does.
Move to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That particular item is not in the final dashboard.
It is not.
It was not part of the original
It's not.
plan.
Yes,
The shutters?
They were not. No, they're part of the two separate items. We're not.
Tiki bar wasn't included in the
The
original?
shell of the tiki bar was, and that's what we.
Well, not in the original, but it's in this year's budget.
Correct.
I got you.
Okay. Yes, yes,
How we
yes.
build a bar with no door.
Okay, we're up to luxury, final tile.
Do we really need to do anything with this carpet? I see it's in the budget. I must have been asleep. Why are we replacing this?
Like, you see the run here, there's a run there. The carpet's past its wear at this point. We constantly washed it. We're constantly cleaning this carpet, and you can still, I don't know if you all can smell it, I can smell the dampness when I walk in coming from the so that's why we budgeted to replace it.
I thought it was being replaced because we other things.
Well, that's why we're going to the vinyl-like product, is so we can do some other things and it doesn't damage the floor. So yeah, we know we need to replace it. So our replacement option, we decided would go into the vinyl side.
Some know they want to replace it. This does not need.
Again, it was approved in the budget. It's an approved item for this year. So
Motion to approve.
Well, a clarification, which one of these three is the one you're picking?
Royal Plus.
Royal Plus would be the
Bottom one is highlighted in yellow.
Oh,
and I have a sample if you want to see it. If it's necessary. I actually brought a sample.
I motioned.
We
Do we have a second?
Do we have a second? Okay, Bill second.
Bill second.
Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nope, one opposed. Marty.
All right, police car's the next one on the list.
Bob, does this replace a
Replacement, yes, sir. You notice the taxes, tags, everything.
Yeah, so moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There is one more, and it was emailed to everybody.
Draft beer system.
Yes, and I also had copies in case I hear you didn't get
We have
the
our
email.
copy.
Yes.
I did get
No, that's right here. I got Mark.
the here. You print this stuff.
No, that's fine. That's why we made sure we had it. I'll pass.
need another one here.
I got it. I knew it was going to be no, we didn't print them, so we made sure.
I got
Oh,
one.
Mr. Stevens has his. Sorry, my apologies.
I'm all over.
I got one. I just can't
You
find it.
have it.
Yeah. Sneaky Pete.
I knew this wasn't budget.
It was budgeted. Yes, sir.
And this one confused me too. I wondered, Tiki Bar was not in the original yacht club.
Correct.
The entire Tiki Bar, so that's why this is.
That's correct.
Okay.
Now, we did have conduit run out there, because we knew in the future last year we did it without running the beer tap lines. We just put cans of beer, bottles, mostly cans out there. But we do, in the next couple of years, we'd like to work with the draft beer system. So our in-house system actually is set up to be able to add some
question should be generating beer from refrigeration box in the iron.
Correct.
In the conduit to the bar.
Correct. And the
And that would
glyco,
cost $22,000-ish.
correct.
What about just putting a kegerator at the bar?
We did some of those things last year. We found that this was always a target at these. And again, it was approved in the budget. This was, well, wait a minute.
Because you're supposed to have 3 bids, I see. So let's talk about this.
All right, well, go ahead.
Yingling will give you a keg. No cost. Set it up, hook it up, and pump the Yingling beer in and out. Why are we spending $25,000 on a brand new $5 million facility?
I have a question. How many types of beer? 8 beers. 8 beers are coming through there, and that's probably the most popular thing other than the Orange
That'll match
Crushes.
the number of customers who sit in the bar.
That's not true.
Everybody can drink their own brand. Why is there only one bid?
Because they were the bid that, or they were the folks that did the initial install of all the equipment for the draft beer system, and they're the one.
Okay. Why wasn't it done when they did it?
Because we didn't budget for anything for the teaching fund. We tried the kegerator, we tried the cans. We felt this year it was fair to go this route. We had this discussion during the budget build-up and during the discussion with it. The board agreed it was the right thing to do. So we included it in the budget, the board approved it, and now we're moving forward.
Including it, the budget.
Yes, sir.
It's a 2-step process, but
Agreed.
and we include, and we have in this number of budget, which is really got to push into show.
We've included fixing the sports court pool for 5 years in a row and haven't done the first
Well,
thing yet.
so at any rate, that's I'm not. I think this is it's.
I move to approve this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed.
Opposed?
2 opposed.
Aye.
Jack.
Jeff, I don't care. Whoever.
Okay, we are off the
CPI.
capital and we're on CPI.
CPI, go ahead. Okay, 41 Cannon.
Bob, on 41 Cannon, is this a commercial vehicle or is this a guy who has a bunch of friends that go up to games, on a weekend? I mean, what's the story behind this?
Mr. Collins, this is a policy matter. The board can take a look at the picture and tell me what you want to do. I am not.
But I need some clarification.
This exceeds.
Here's my guess. His neighbor's a Redskin.
Yeah. Could be.
We're Pittsburgh.
All right. This is one I was there when this was presented. This has to do with the size of the vehicle and the antenna being on top of it is a secondary issue. But the reality is the vehicle itself in its registration is registered because of the way the vehicle is registered and manufactured by the manufacturer. It falls into the arena of being a truck that is too big to be parked on the streets or on the private property. So they really had no choice but to follow the rules as they are.
Well, let me ask you this.
Can I finish?
Jack.
No, you're going to argue for it. I'm
No, I'm
not
not arguing
saying-
anything. I'd like a clarification.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's where it came from. It is in violation of the size of vehicle that is allowed to be parked on someone's private driveway. That's what's in the rule. Yes.
Thank you. What's the difference between this and an RV?
I'm not a car expert. All I know is that this was because of the weight capacity and things like that. It fell beyond it. I personally don't have any problem with this thing. I think personally, I'm not going to vote to take any action on this because frankly, I don't think it's on.
Okay, well, good. But if this is an issue, Mr. President, and people in this community have recreational vehicles, RVs, which, could have 1 or 2 bedrooms. And they're rather sizable. They're like buses, right? I mean, are they outside of the guidelines? They are outside.
They are
of the
not allowed
guidelines.
to be on the property.
They are not allowed to be on the property. Yes, they are outside of guidelines, and so
Actually, I think it's
so
two
is this.
separate issues.
Yeah, that could be, because RV is I think, a definition, but whereas this is a truck.
Oversized
Marty,
vehicles,
one ton.
RVs and trailer vehicles.
So they have a ton rating on that, Marty?
That would be it.
There's two of these same vehicles painted white, eyesight of my front porch. They drive them every day back and forth to work. Big deal.
Are they bigger than this?
They're exactly the same vehicle, except they don't say Redskins 7 Max. They just the white.
Say register, be okay. Yeah, this is really.
I don't know.
It's outside of.
It's a violation of the guidelines.
It's a violation of the guidelines. It's a
Slippery slopes.
It is.
We don't get them all. I mean, and that's a fact. That's
And
true.
we got vehicles parked in the can't do anything.
Right.
What are we going to do about this? Send him
I
to
mean,
court?
you tow it.
Let me tell you what the judges can do. Better hope he ain't a Ravens fan.
That's right.
I vote to do what was recommended, sent to OPA attorney for action.
Yeah, so
That's my
we
motion.
have a motion.
And find them.
And fine.
I did add it, thank you.
Is there a second?
Second on the motion. I'll second.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's an infringement of an individual's right to be a Raven, Redskin, Eagles,
That's not-
New York Giant football fan.
That's not.
This is nothing but a van painted purple. Granted, it's got an aerial on top of it, but the individual probably lives here 365 days a year, or is around, or is a full-time resident. I don't see where we have the right to do this. I'd hate to see us go to court with this one.
Oh, we definitely think we I'm pretty sure.
We will lose this one, yeah.
I mean, it's been done in Maryland.
And it may set a very bad precedent.
Different homeowner associations, they have lost.
It may set a very bad precedent.
Okay, we've had, just to clarify, we've had box trucks that we have gone to court, found in continuing violation. Court agreed with Ocean Pines, we've had it removed.
Commercial.
Right,
Yeah.
right, but it's a box vehicle, so, similar to this. Again,
But this is
commercial
not a box,
use.
this is a van.
I'm not
I mean, the
disrespecting.
folks out there can't see this picture.
Understood.
That's why I'm being
It's a very
explicit.
big, very big thing. But, I suppose I could go
Well,
on.
look, he removed it, it appeared less than a month later. He's received the notification, he's not done anything about this, he hasn't come and asked for any exemptions, he's never responded.
Never responded to.
I don't think we have anything else to do but back up the committee.
That's a good point.
Well, there's a reason that ECC stuff comes to the court. It's not being brought back up.
That's not what I said, Marty. I said he's had an
Exactly what you
opportunity.
said.
No, I did not. I didn't say a puppet at all. I said he's had an opportunity to
Come
respond
on,
and he hasn't.
we've got a long time to go without this. It was addressed at the ARC meeting, at Sharon's, that was addressed by CPI, the ARC, and they agreed. And in fact, with the letters, I mean, this person had every right to go to the ARC and say, look, and make his case. And he never chose to do so. I don't understand that.
Is that right, Tom?
That is correct. As I stated, the ARC found this vehicle in violation because it is
How long's this been on board?
oversized. Quite a few months.
Can I read the language? Oversized. This basis is our DRs, where it states, declarations of Ocean Pines states, quote, no vehicle shall be parked on any street in the subdivision. Period. no vehicle with a load capacity of 1 ton or greater. Yeah, we can read this all day. We just skipped over the first part of it. If we're not going to enforce one, I'm not going to.
Well,
You guys call the question.
I'm going
That's why
to,
there's 7 of us, not 1 of us.
Yeah, that's true. I'll call the question. All those in favor of Sharon's motion, signify by raising your hand, so I can count them. Okay, you and me, Sharon.
She's right.
And
You can bring the
John.
rules of the rules.
I have one on my street, so I can't.
Okay. We've got 3.
Yep.
All those opposed? Let's make sure we vote. We got 4 opposed. Okay. Good enough. Perfect. All the Ravens fans.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Oops.
So does this mean this man, we just dropped this whole case, and he has the opportunity to keep it there?
I think that's what it is. What else? Fair enough.
Next.
Concord Lane, 28 Concord Lane.
Violation is the trailer, box trailer.
Yep, it is a violation. And they've been unable to contact by phone. Pull them up. Certified mail, no response. Okay.
So,
Do I have a
Marty,
motion?
do the words.
I'm not doing the words because I'm not going to vote for it.
I'm not going to vote for this.
No, I had one just like this parked my driveway for 9 years.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah. Violation, numerous violations, and
And follow the recommendations.
follow the recommendation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Call the question. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6.
Opposed?
Opposed? Yee. All right, Mark. We have,
How far are they in, Bob? Is that aerial in? A couple inches?
5.6 feet plus or minus.
It's
That was
5.6 feet
From the-
inside
No.
of the...
No, sir, from the side of the road, so they're down approach. You can see it, I mean, they're pictures.
I don't see the ditch. But
Here's what he's saying. It's 5 feet 6 to the road.
right.
Now, I guess that there's a utility easement. How wide
That's
is
what I'm
that?
trying to figure out. How far is it?
Usually, I don't have a copy of the plan, usually it's 10 feet.
Oh, okay. Okay, so he's
So they're-
well inside the easement.
Oh,
okay. All right.
yeah, well, do I have a motion?
I motion to find a continuing violation and send it to the OPA attorney for action.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the motion? Unanimous. End of CPI.
that concludes my report.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to public comment. Yes, sir. All right, name and address, please.
Steve Lynn, 1113 Stones Run,
Okay.
Section 18E. I haven't done this in the 16 years that I'm living here, so kind of a preemptive attack. I hate to use the word attack, but rumor has it that Mr. Clark is going to make his presentation as far as closing down the yacht club during the winter. And I just want to make a statement. I'm going to read from a prepared statement so I can get it over quickly and make my point effectively. The property owners were convinced of the need to invest $5.5 million in a new yacht club facility. And after less than 1 year of operation, the board has discussed the option of closing it down in winter months. Is that an acknowledgement that we made a bad investment? Are the property owners being told, don't throw good money after bad? Or is it an acknowledgement that the administration can't come up with a way to make the brand new campus at least break even, while serving as an amenity on a limited basis to the year-round population? Spending $5.5 million of property owners' money on a building that's to be shuttered half the year is a fiduciary failure. The Homeowners Association cannot run a multi-million-dollar business. We have a 40-plus year history that has proven that. Our association has lost millions of dollars that could have been used to improve the quality of life of Ocean Pines residents. And as history repeats itself, board after board comes up with the easy way out solution of shutting down for the winter. Look, lease it out to a local businessman, someone in the bar restaurant business with name recognition. Make him an offer he can't refuse with the stipulation that he stay open in the winter, Thursday to Sunday, and that he keeps our chef and club manager, even if it's on a trial basis. We have nothing to lose trying this except losses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wayne.
Real quick. Tom Janasek, 17 Lookout Point. I'm pretty much on the same page. I respect what Mr. Clark says in closing down the yacht club, but I don't think that's the solution to lose the money. We lost $36,000 last month. Open 4 days. We don't have a manager's salary because the manager's not there anymore. Don't have one of the banquet manager's salary. She's not there anymore. I don't know if you've always had two or maybe just one. But we're open 4 days and lose $36,000. Now, I don't know if we've hired a new manager yet, but we're in May. It's May. This is when it starts. This is when the 100,000 build it and they will come are going to come in a month. And we have nobody setting up, hiring, doing whatever as far as I can tell. Now, 2 years ago, we proposed this. I was against it, but I wasn't against it because we didn't need a new yacht club. I was against it because we don't know how to run a new yacht club. I asked, standing in that room, do you have a business plan? Just give me a business plan of how you're going to run it. What are you going to do? Food cost, labor cost, whatever. Bob said yes. I handed it to the whole board right before that meeting. I don't know if that's true or not, but at this point in time, we're looking at it with labor cost and food cost in the 60% range. Oh, I forgot to mention, we have no rent on the building either. I mean, how do you do this? We're going to get into June, and we're going to have another $350,000, $400,000 worth of income and lose $85,000. How do you do that? How does anybody stay in business? How does Billy Carter stay in business? How does Layton stay in business? How does people with small, like Harborside, how do they stay in business? They can't have that kind of overhead and expect to stay in business. You can't continually, month after month after month, continue to ask the 8440 lots to keep subsidizing this yacht club. Somebody needs to run it correctly. And I don't know who to ask or who has to go and find this person, but it's obvious for the last couple of years, the only person we ever had that ran it with a profit was Joe Reinhardt, and he was ran out on a rail, kind of like Dave. Somebody give me an idea. Who's picking the new manager? Because if it's the same happy-go-lucky, let's bring in the next new guy from New York City who knows how to run a 5-star establishment, we're going to go in the same direction. You did a build it and they will come. They came, and now we can't run the place to make any money. And my other question is, have we figured out what you're going to do about the flies? Has this been thought about? Because starting in June, once it gets hot and the waitresses start rolling out those front doors again, we're going to have flies all over the place and it's going to start up. So that's pretty much my question.
Thank you.
Doris Lloyd, 65 Wood Duck Drive. I have some questions about the yacht club. The upstairs is not very conducive for Ocean Pines residents to have a group function. 100 people upstairs get lost. Is there any plans to close off part of that upstairs so we don't get lost in it and improve the sounding of that room? No plans?
Well, this is just comments right now, Doris. But,
can I ask a question?
yeah, but you can't get an answer. We're not open. But I'll tell you what, Doris, if you ask to come up after, and we'll ensure that the general manager, either by email, verbally, gives you a response.
I have another comment. 15 years ago, when I was on the board, we had 4 or 5 different corporations running the yacht club. They come in, they promise you the world, so I understand some of the problems with it. I don't know the answers.
Thank you, Doris.
I'd like to comment on the yacht club also. My name's Ken Waters, 27 Birdnest Drive. I've heard that we've had a proposal passed from one of the professional restaurants in Ocean City, one of the owners, to come in and run the yacht club. And I don't know why that was turned down. I agree with the other comments. We need to have this thing run properly. We don't seem to be able to do it ourselves. Why haven't we looked into having somebody with a professional background do this? I mean, has that been proposed, and why was it turned down?
I've never seen a proposal.
The quick answer is no.
No, it's never been. No one's ever approached.
No one's ever made a proposal,
No one's ever
and
made
we have gone out into the marketplace and asked.
So if someone did come forward, you would entertain that?
I would hope so, but there's no telling.
Let me just make it clear, and I'm not expressing my point of view, but there's a philosophy out there and on this board that it's an amenity. An amenity means that it is something that people want to utilize for their own welfare, for their own benefit, for their own good feelings. And as an amenity, we have to provide it. So whether or not it should be a profit-generating entity is a question, and that's a question that probably
Does it have to lose money?
Well, I'm sorry, sir, but we are getting into an area where we're just in discussion now. And Jack,
I'll shut up.
Now, by the way,
I made the point though. We're approaching June, and apparently all winter nothing's been done.
well, your point is made. Yes, sir. And thank you for it. You're obviously not alone.
I'd just like to make another comment. We had Marriott, had Marriott running it. We had Canteen running. None
Doris,
of them performed,
we're very familiar with that.
but the people are not.
They were management companies. Management companies. They weren't private. We see that.
Okay, we have a speaker.
I'm Audrey Wall, 37 Clubhouse Drive, and I don't think I'm...
Did you hear that?
I can't hear you.
37 Clubhouse Drive, Audrey Wall. And I've been a resident for 15 years and an owner for 10 more of that. I have heard everybody here, and I'd like to make just a couple of suggestions about the yacht club as well. It shows that we're all concerned about the welfare of the yacht club. And I doubt that, Marty, your motion of closing it down is going to affect the bottom line in a positive way.
Man, this motion is not to close the yacht club. I don't know where that came from.
Well, yeah, okay.
I think that what we have to consider is that residents, and all-year residents especially, are not usually or very easily considered in a lot of decisions that are made. And I think that we have to realize that the summer people are not the only people that use the yacht club, and if it is closed down totally from October to, what did you say, April, they will not have the use of something that they are paying for in their assessment and voted for overwhelmingly. So I think that when the discussion comes up on your motion, that permanent residents, people that are here all year round, should be taken into consideration when the decision is made. Because unless I'm very naive or unreasonable, I would expect that once that referendum was passed, and so overwhelmingly passed, that it's your responsibility as the board to support the amenity by encouraging its enjoyment and use. After all, somebody here said amenity is, that's what Jack said. That's what the definition of amenity is. It is being paid for throughout the year with people's assessments, and they should be considered. I don't know if I can add more to what other people have said, but thank you.
Thank you, Audrey.
Thank you.
Judge.
said about the yacht. This is why. Let me tell you, Mr. President, I have to let me to you. Last month, I had a meeting with our general manager. He jumped on me. He said, "You keep cutting charges in the yacht club." I said, "Yes." Then he said to me, "You people voted for me." Now he's blaming the people from Ocean Point that the yacht club don't work. He did it with the coffee house. He blamed it on Joe Ironhouse. The swimming pool, he blamed it on somebody. Then he had the golf course. He had the Lifetime magazine. You're supposed to get $1 million. Then the yacht club was a failure. He had 4 failures. And you people don't get rid of it. He is making the trouble in Ocean Point. I ask you people, I'm coming back that something is done. This man is not trained to be a general manager. He acts like a dictator. He blames everything on other people. Be honest. Be honest. He's not. Wait a minute. I'm going to talk off the vote. He has to go. Hey, I talked to you, Mr. Stevens. You told me last time not. This man he's bringing Ocean Point to break. He's going to break. We're going to have no money. He keeps spending money. Here's another thing. He brought up a couple months ago about the police department. Sure, we got a nice police department. He needs another building for the policeman to change his clothes. The policeman changed his clothes home. Where did he get the stories from? We have to do something. So long this man is in charge over here, there's no peace in the board. And I keep talking. I don't care what everybody says. I'm going to fight to get that man removed.
Judge, did you say you had a meeting with Bob? I didn't hear you in the beginning.
Yes, you did.
Do you remember when that meeting was, Judge?
I don't want to talk to you, lady. Okay?
I am asking a question.
Well, hold it. We're not having a debate, Sharon.
I don't want to talk.
If he doesn't want to, it's not a discussion.
I don't think there was a meeting.
Well, you know what, Sharon? That's not the time. This isn't the time to debate that.
I don't care what they do. I have to get new leadership.
Got another speaker.
And your name and address, please.
My name is Bill Zawacki. Address is 2011 Taylor the Fox Drive.
Did you speak up? I can't hear you. We can't hear you either.
I don't think it's on.
Tell them some more.
No, I don't think so. Take it. The way it's worded.
By the way, this is our second past board member speaking.
More recent, though. I've got 2 or 3 things I wanted to speak about, but one of them added a little. I spoke to you last meeting about board passing motions prior to public comment. You did it again today. If anybody wanted to speak to the capital purchases or the CPI information, your membership has no opportunity to do so. You've already taken care of it. I would think that the parliamentarian would be able to determine when a motion is new business and would make sure that it falls in that portion of the agenda. With regard to the motion regarding Mr. Steen's property, converting it from 60 single-family to 60 duplex units.
30.
It's 30 pieces of land with 60 units.
You said I was going to 120.
No, sir, I did not. No, I haven't.
You don't have it. Thank you.
There will be.
Mr. President.
Yeah, let's.
There will be 60 units either way. The difference is, in the original 2002 agreement, the 60 single-family detached were to pay the estate lot assessments as duplexes, they will only pay the non-waterfront lot assessment. Based on the 2015-16 budget, that's a $28,000 hit every year. While at the same time, you're still having to support the same number of residences, provide the same amount of services, but you lose the money. Another really quick item. There's something on the agenda about the ARC meetings, or ARC guidelines. One thing that I would like to see happen is ARC agendas be published on the website prior to their meetings. Today they are not. We had a recent issue last month. They created a whole lot of controversy because nobody knew about it. Next item I'd like to speak to is the yacht club. The motion you're going to have before you is not to close the yacht club for the winter. It is a motion asking the general manager to provide options, one of which would be perhaps closing it. But it's not the only thing. What they're essentially asking for is a business plan. A plan for how you're going to improve the performance. I'd like to, if I may, hand out a quick chart.
Thank you.
Thank you. This chart is net operating. It's real dollars. It's not comparisons to budgets, all these Mickey Mouse things. If you look, by August of last year, we had collected and profited $71,000 and put it in the pocket. Following month, we actually broke even, so we kept it in our pocket. From that point on, we had to start giving it back. And as you can see, by March of this year, we're so far in the hole we'll never see the light of day. If you look down below, even the general manager's remarks gave you a clue where you were headed. In September, regular business falling. In November, day-to-day business very poor. Expectations need to be adjusted. We fired the yacht club manager. And this year, it just keeps saying the same thing. Staffing problem. In March, it says staffing will remain an issue because it was based on the old building's staffing requirements. What that tells me is it's just going to keep getting worse because apparently we have to have more staff run this unit, this building, than we did the old building. You know, the annual budget that you all just passed, which we haven't even, that starts tomorrow, says this yacht club is going to end up full year, this time next year, with a $62,000 profit. Does anybody sitting up there believe that? I don't think the general manager even believes it. And yet, Marty has put out a motion to ask the general manager to explain, give options How's he going to get there? I don't see how anybody can vote against wanting to know how we're going to get from a $225,000 loss to a $62,000 profit. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else? Moving right along. Thank you all. We are now into old business, and we have two motions under old business. The first is yours, Mike.
I move that the board accepts the following change to the current board resolution MO2 amenity policy. Remove boat ramps from 5.A general use amenity to 5.B fee-based amenity.
Do I have a second? I'll second it.
Look, this isn't asking to charge people to use ramps. It's private property is posted private property. We just spent $250,000 beautifying and fixing it up. And today, when I was at the boat ramp, the county was using it to launch county boats. And guys, we got at least pretend to care. It's not, I'm not saying charge people, but I'm saying this is not public Worcester County boats. That's all this does, is it takes it out.
How would you enforce? How would you, can we ask questions?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. How would you enforce it?
Signs. What else you gonna do? I mean,
I'm
if it was if I was king, I would have pay gates. If you were a member of Ocean Pines, you swipe your card, the gate goes up, put your boat in. If you drive up there and you don't have a card, go to where you pay your taxes to get a free boat rate, not Ocean Pines.
May I, Marty? This motion, okay, basically does nothing. It doesn't answer Jack's question. It doesn't answer exactly how we're going to enforce it or what we're going to do in the future. All this motion does is take one sentence in the resolution and move it into a different category. And I want to point out that this was, as I've been told, and I was there, and I understand that this was what was intended from the very beginning for this resolution, and that it was an oversight that it wasn't put in there. So it's a correction to a resolution. It's not a change to the resolution. And I believe that we can adopt this without rewriting the resolution. Basically, all we're doing is correcting previous error. I believe that's true.
Then I don't understand the spirit of this motion.
Let me help.
Thank you.
When this was written, and it was going back and forth hot and heavy toward the end, it was agreed at the last work meeting, and you can watch his own video. I wasn't there, but I've seen the video. The boat ramps were not to be included. By mistake. And I believe that the committee chairman has admitted that it was a mistake, maybe his mistake, who knows. The mistakes happen. It didn't get moved. It was put before the board. It had a first reading, second reading, and approved. Nobody picked up.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I concur with what Marty is saying. I was sitting in your chair at the time. The realities are it's on tape. This is a correction. It's like cleaning up a contract after you signed it. This is a correction that the boat ramps were not supposed to be listed in general use. They were supposed to be listed fee-based, not say we were going to charge anything. But this is, in fact, correcting an error from what was intended to be. So your statements are correct.
I have a comment, if I may. Okay. I have a copy of the minutes, and there is nothing mentioned on here. Now, I was not on the board at that time, but on MO2, there is nothing mentioned about this whatsoever, and there is amenity policy, the draft resolution. It's not mentioned on there. So where you say if it's a mistake, there's been no discussion on it that was in writing in the minutes.
That would be correct.
So
Our minutes-
was it a mistake or not?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was.
it's not mentioned.
I believe it was a mistake.
It was.
If I may call somebody we often use as an authority, Jim Trumbull believes it's a mistake. It's already written, but he thinks it is. And, I think if it's a mistake in the resolution, the fact that it's not covered in the minutes shouldn't surprise anybody. I mean, because minutes are certainly...
Reflection of the mistake.
But you all
Certainly.
passed the minutes.
Well,
Indeed, they did.
indeed we did, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we recognize the mistake at the time and that we saw it correct. Now I have to say that this change still doesn't solve the problem of exactly what we do about resident or non-residents or non-members who are using the vote. It doesn't solve that.
Doesn't try to.
Doesn't try to. It's simply moving vote reps as a category from one position in MO2 and as it was supposed to be.
If we're going to leave it alone, I think we ought to go take down private property, no trespassing, members of the sign.
It's fine.
Fine.
If we're going to leave it alone, then we should take that sign down. You're right, Marty. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and I
Stop charging.
I think we need to address this, and I really do. I think, at any rate, I would like to call the question. I'm going to call the question for the motion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Two opposed. Done and done. Okay, our second motion.
Actually, this is where I come in with mine. Added agenda, Mr. President.
Okay, we have two. I don't care what she's saying, but I'll allow yours first.
Yeah, I simply wanted to add a request for a special meeting to be held to have a work session to work through facilities usage policy, a draft that has been developed. We'd like to set a date time for Bob and his team to work with us to walk through that document.
Is this a new MO2?
No, it's not an MO2 at all. It's the usage.
Where are we talking
Who
about?
gets to use the facility, free, not free, all
That's
that.
what MO2 is.
Well, it's sort of the policy that Bob is working on.
Yeah, well, I think it's a time. I'll second that motion
I don't have
because
the
I
calendar with me.
think it's a time to do that. I don't think. Let us not have to set the date.
That's fine. As long as we understand, we'll set a date.
We set a date for
Sure.
that special meeting, and I agree.
Doesn't need to be a motion.
We need. Well, yeah. Well, no. If you simply.
I mean, if everybody agrees, then we just.
If two people
Okay.
agree to call a
Yeah.
meeting,
I'm not going to. I won't call the question. If two people agree, we can call the meeting.
Dave and I agree there ought to be a meeting.
I'll make it three. There ought to be a meeting.
All right, we will call that. Okay. The next motion is.
So, excuse me, when will we know the date? Are you going to set a date? I mean, I didn't hear.
Can I go home first?
Well, will you let us know in a week?
I will
2
let you.
weeks?
I will let you know early next week.
Perfect.
All right,
Thank you.
By 2 o'clock.
Don't forget.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, the next motion is, and this is mine. I move to take the Marty Clark portion of 20 February off the table for immediate consideration. That motion, I move that the Board of Directors instruct the General Manager to rebate all fees charged to the Star Charity in conjunction with their Beacon Year fundraiser, which was held at the Community Center. That was made on February 23rd. 28th. 28th, right? Oh, 20.
No, it was
No, it was
28th.
28th.
Meeting is the 28th.
28th.
Trust me.
Okay. And
Unlikely.
it was put on the table by Tom Perry.
No. Oh, it was tabled by Tom.
It was tabled by Tom
I'm the one who made the motion.
for consideration and more information over a 2-month period. Now 2 months. So the first thing I'm asking has nothing to do with
I'll second
the motion itself. We've got a second. So, can I have a vote with the motion back on the table for reconsideration?
Yeah, sure. Call the vote.
I'll call it. Everyone in favor? Aye. Yeah, it's just. Okay, now that it's back on the table, we have that motion to consider. And the motion stands, so it's been made and seconded. So now, any further discussion on this? Bill?
This is what we're going to do this special meeting about. This very motion here and anything else that has to do with it. So I don't know why we would go with this motion today when we're getting ready to set a special meeting to discuss this very topic.
May I? This is under the current policy. We have an existing policy. Star's not been charged for having fundraisers in the past. We're allowing Worcester County charity groups to use facilities no charge. We provided food for them. These people should get their money back. Period. No matter what the new policy is, they should get their money back.
Okay.
Right now, the existing policy, they qualify, get their money.
Okay, Marty, may I?
Sure.
In the normal course of things, Bill, I agree with you. I mean, that's the way it should be done, but that's the way I thought it was going to be done over the last 2 months, sitting here, and nothing's been. Now, we could put it off. I don't think there's a reason to put this specific motion on, to put it off anymore. I think I agree that we need to get this policy and we need to sit down and figure it out, make things. But as I still think we need to consider this, and I think Marty's point is reasonably well taken. So I do want to at least vote on it.
The issue that is brought up as to what rules take effect, even if, and I'm assuming we will at some point adopt a new policy, I would not think that we would backdate or back apply that policy to things that have gone on. So the ruling on this really, needs to be appropriate to the existing policy that existed at the time that the event was held. It may very well be that going forward that one thing could be yes or no to the charging or not charging new policy, but the event is passed and the appeal was made to basically give money back because their interpretation of the rule is that they should not have been charged, as I understand it. And therefore any ruling here needs to be, in my opinion, based on the existing guideline at that point in time. So I would like to request that, there was a reasoning for that bill to be rendered to them for using it. And I'm assuming the ruling was based on an evaluation of the existing rule at the time. So Ocean Pines did, in fact, submit a bill to this group based on the existing policy, and they paid it, I guess. Yes, and they paid it. So I just want to level set where we are here. There was a bill rendered based on the existing policy at the time, and they did, in fact, pay the bill. And now they've come back asking for a refund because they think they shouldn't have been billed. that's where we are on this. This really doesn't fall under the purview of what we do or don't with policy. So, in my mind, we billed them, they paid it without objection, and now they're objecting to having paid it. I think that's where we are at this point. There was a ruling, obviously, at some point that the existing policy called for them to be billed. Otherwise, I don't think they would have been billed.
Well, the one thing I haven't seen in the last 2 months, Tom, is exactly what that existing policy is. Exactly.
And that's a fair comment. That's fair.
And that in itself, we're going to move forward. We're going to pin it down in another meeting. But given that there was doubt, ambiguity, whatever, okay, in the policy, how it was applied, my feeling is that, and by the way, this doesn't mean that they won't be charged the next time when we do come up with the new policy. But on the other hand, under these circumstances, given the level of ambiguity, I believe we should. That just
could somebody read to me what the stipulation was, why they were charged or not charged? What is the policy? I don't have it.
MO2, resolution MO2.
Would you read that line that's appropriate?
And any one line that's appropriate. It's it's our biggest resolution, I think, isn't it? Is there one bigger than this?
I really think that, given that we're going, you're right, MO2, which we were talking about, I don't know how many months, and I would like to call the question now and simply get it over with, and then
Well, I can find that sentence if you'll give me a second.
I just feel that this was done, and I don't think if it took 1 more month, it would make a whole lot of difference. I think we all need to sit down and get all the information.
And that was
if anyone's
by the day.
Well, all right, it hasn't.
In that case, let's give back.
So 1 more month won't make a whole lot of difference, in my opinion. I'm not against them getting the money back, and I'm not for them getting the money back. I don't know what the regulations were.
Well, I can't help you go.
Mr. President, I'll call the question.
No, you can't.
You can't. Well, then let's get the vote over with. Let's go with this. Come on. Let's go.
General Haig.
I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of refunding the money, vote aye. Aye.
How many we got?
You got your 4.
Okay.
Well, who voted against it?
I voted against it, only not because of the group. Because I don't think
I'm going to abstain. I've never done that, but I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to abstain.
Abstain's a good.
It's gone either way.
And by the way, Sharon, I perfectly understand why you're.
I mean, if there's one person who supports veterans, it's me. I just don't have the information.
Sharon,
Yeah, I mean.
we really.
Variance, Sharon.
All right. Okay, we have Pat.
Yes.
You're on.
Motion. Yeah.
Home construction.
Chairman, making a motion here to endorse the construction of new homes on King Richard Road in Ocean Pine. Background is developer builder Marvin Steen would appreciate the endorsement of the board of directors for his building 60 single-unit duplex homes on King Richard Road in Ocean Pine. I think Bill Zawacki raised an issue about whether this was a state as far as money is concerned and what the cost of the lots are. And I asked Mr. Steen here, who knows the history and background of this, to attend this meeting. I'd like to suspend the rules and ask Mr. Steen to talk about it. Right?
No, let's first of all back up. Get a second.
Get a second.
Oh, second.
I second.
Okay, Bill second. And
Now we're in discussion.
now we're in discussion. Prior to the discussion, without objection, we'll let Mr. Steen speak about what he's doing briefly. Mr. Steen, too. We're all right. We're going to a party.
We have a party to go to.
I'll start this way. My wife's here. She may speak. 13 years ago, I signed an agreement with Ocean Pine. The agreement, and what happened at that time, I wanted 1 acre lots. Okay, that's what and that's this address Bill's saying. 1 acre lots, and if you went over a half acre, I think it's Bob, you had to pay a state the high fee, the 1/3 higher fee. And that's where that all came out. And then Ocean Pines, for $6,500, Ocean Pines is going to sell me 60 EDUs, okay? That's all facts. And I went to the courthouse this morning, I gave Mr. Stevens the contracts that Ocean Pines signed, and they're recorded in the courthouse. If y'all got them, I gave them credit, okay? The day's market, at that time, I wanted large lots and big homes, okay? And over the years, it's part of the contract. If the critical bay wouldn't approve all this stuff, I got to go lower. So what happened? Went to the county over a lot of years and got 60 lots all approved for single-family homes. That's there. What I'd like to do now is to only build on 30 of them and do duplexes, which I presume Pat has given you copies of, or I.
Yeah, you have. There's some back in the back table there. If you don't have them. Very nice. Look inside.
That's what I would like to do. They're 2,400 square feet. Okay. Look, I've lived here. I put on the back of that flyer what I have done. You know, in a nutshell, that's about it. If you got any questions, or Bill or anybody else does. Yeah.
I think now, just for clarification, Pat, what we're really not approving construction of these
You
homes.
are not. All
What
I'm
we're
asking
doing is we're basically adding our endorsement to a letter that's
right.
an application that Mr. Steen is going to make the county.
Right, and I have to go to county and go back through to get this done. But I know one thing. When Ocean Pine says you're approved, you're approved. If you say no, hey, don't need me going forward.
Marvin, I want to just clarify.
Okay.
This will be all that will be built on that parcel. There'll be
Right.
no additional homes going
Yes,
in there.
because I can only get 60
EDUs, right.
Okay.
And I do understand Bill's comment too. I appreciate it, Bill,
Yeah,
about the
I
difference in the
appreciate it,
states. You're absolutely right.
But in the contract that I gave Dave, that's addressed. It's all time, Ocean Pine, that was 13 years ago, so I presume it's still.
And since that time, Critical Bays has taken a setback on how far away to build and everything else, so that not build the 61-acre lot at this time.
It's part of
the
that.
law.
It's part of the approval.
Really?
They stopped me. The only thing I could do between King Richard Road and Gun Point Road was not touch one tree. So what happened instead of me, well, I had a lot of land down there. They basically restricted me. Okay, I've got letters to back it all up, where I could only build on like 30 acres, all field. I could not touch one tree. And I got to build 3 stormwater ponds.
And even if you could build on 40 acres of it, that would be $55,260 a year. 60 lots at 921, $55,260. Exact same amount.
One other question on your parcel 67 and 74. Are those both yours? 74 is yours too?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any thought toward putting a hiking trail or park area in that to service the people out of your?
On the corner, that's about it. Yeah. Also,
On the corner, I'm sorry.
Also, Dave came into my office. I called him. He came by,
Uh-huh.
and he said, "Well, what about all these trucks that's going down King Richard?" I said, "Well, we can solve that." We sat down and Tom got stopped. Okay. I said, "Look, I can put a gate up before my garage is back there as you go in. Okay, and I can have all the construction equipment come from 589. No trucks would be going back and forth on King Richard." Okay. He's got another thing. Can you extend your road about 240 foot for the merchant's exit? Because they would be on 5 of them right there. I said, that wouldn't be a problem. And so if there was something bad happening down there, they could come around that corner and go out. Be a dirt
Well,
road.
there's just a lot of nice land there, and it'd be nice if there was some recreational facility available. So if you would consider that.
Oh yeah, I've got property.
Yeah.
Yeah, the emergency road, I want to stress though, it's just that. It's a dirt road, which would be gated and but could be open in case of genuine emergency. So it's not.
Won't be an ingress exit.
It's not. Yeah, exactly.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, Marty.
Which is the only downside to this Ocean Pines that I can see, is the fees cut to the chase to the money. Does the assessment amount, which currently we're talking about a state assessment, which is about
third of it.
I think it's more. I think it's on the well, maybe
It's 1381.50.
Marty,
compared
it's
to
addressed.
920.
It's addressed in the contract.
So we still get that, even though it's it won't.
Addressed in the contract.
So we'll lose
It's
that.
signed by Ocean Pines. But they've already signed that. But that was 30, if 13 years ago counts, that will be reduced. I think.
Well, let me clarify. My understanding is for every unit that you sell, $6,800 is given over to OPA. Is that correct?
That's where contracts got to be addressed. Yeah.
But the difference, Jack, just
Yeah.
when the people buy these homes, they're going to be paying the regular non-waterfront assessment,
Correct.
not
No, I
the state
understand what-
assessment.
I
There is a
understand.
difference.
No,
And that's
I-
what the point Bill
No,
brought.
I understand.
Because they're not going to be
But
living under the state.
Correct, that's right.
But $6,800 is nothing to be
But
sniffed at.
that's where all this confusion is. Probably so.
Yeah.
But then the hell, I gave Dave copies. He can give you, read that contract. Bill Sampson, hey, look at Joe's thing at his blog yesterday out of Dave. You know, I better get copies of all that stuff. I gave Joe one. Okay, it is confusing. It's 13 years ago. We did all this stuff. You know, I'm not going there. I can tell you what I want to do right. I want to be part of Ocean Pines, and I've done other things in here, and want to try to do right. That's when Tom brought it up. They brought it about the gate. That's not a problem. And I think the emergency exit needs to be over there anyhow. And I know the King Richard people don't want a lot of trucks going up in that road. And that will stop that.
I look at this thing and I think it's a win-win. It's a win for Ocean Pines. Absolutely. And I think.
And all I'm asking is part of the signed letter from you, Dave, to take it to the county. That's what I'm looking for, and that's where it's,
If we have no more questions, I'd like to call the.
Please don't get.
I don't know that it's a win. Sure it's a loss.
While he's thinking,
Okay.
it's not a one-year project. This will take approximately 5 years, 7 years to do.
yeah. When we talked, I said 6.
Yeah.
I think 3 to 4. I think
3 to 4.
I think you're closer. Because we've not had anything new in here, like you said.
A long time.
A long time.
Okay.
What does the contract say?
Okay. No, Tom. Yes, sir. Yes, go.
The motion, I'm going to suggest some changes to the language, just so that it is to, I don't know if your word is instruct, but it's to instruct the president to write a letter to endorse the construction of new homes, as described in the April 1st letter to the Board of Directors, which was attached to this motion. Okay? And in the minutes of this meeting, this is not part of the motion, the minutes of this meeting will recognize the discussions that have been held referencing an extension of an emergency road with a gate for emergency use, and that construction vehicles will use a separate access to access the area, so they will not be using King Richard Road during the time of construction. But the motion would be changed to read, to instruct the president to write a letter of endorsement for the construction of new homes as described in the April 1st letter to the board from Marvin Steen.
Do you accept the amended motion, Pat?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'm going to call the question on the amended motion. All those in favor? Aye. I'm sorry, Morty. But do you want to say? I'm going to uncall the question.
I want to make a disclosure. I'm a personal friend and business associate. I don't have any fear of any, what do they call it, conflict of interest. But if anybody thinks there might be, they can say so. Back out.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I've known Marvin longer than you have.
Oh, that's right. No, I don't think that's
More
true.
than 50 years.
Well,
Up, then you're 91 or 9.
I
I'm
don't
not
think
50 years
anybody is
old.
going to death on that day. Are you?
I'm just trying
I just want to make
Okay,
a
let's move it
disclosure.
along.
I
Okay,
consider
question I'm
myself-
still going to call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along. We have. Okay, yes, this is on FO1 submitted by Jack Collins. The motion is.
Do I have a member from the Budget and Finance Committee here? Is there anybody here? Oh, good, okay. Mr. President, I would like to suspend Robert's rules for a period of time to allow some unnecessary dialogue between the Budget and Finance Committee member and the board, if necessary, if it is necessary.
Yeah, let's see if it's necessary for us first.
Okay.
Running short on time.
I move that the Board of Directors approve the attached revised Ocean Pines Resolution FO1 investment guidelines you received in your packet, C3, which more or less incented the Budget and Finance Committee to rewrite FO1, review and rewrite FO1. You received in your package a copy of the original FO1 or the current FO1, and you received the revised copy. So in the form of background, Resolution C03, included for reference, directs the Budget and Finance Committee to review resolutions periodically. Given that Resolution FO1 investment guidelines was last reviewed in June 2009, a review with recommended amendments is warranted. The current FO1 and the revised FO1 are provided for your reference. The primary changes to FO1 are the inclusion of the preservation of purchasing power as a secondary investment goal. The performance review is a performance review quarterly by the Treasurer, Management, and Budget and Finance Committee. Allowable funds investments will be specified in an investment policy statement to be developed by the Budget and Finance Committee, with that policy being approved by board action. They will include investments as recommended by an investment advisory professional other than those guaranteed by the United States government. As far as discussion is concerned,
Need a second.
no, I need a second.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
As far as discussion is concerned, the purpose of this motion coming from the Budget and Finance Committee, I think, is best expressed by one of its members, which I've shared with a couple of you. And I will quote this person directly. I would simply encourage the board to declare whether or not it agrees with the concept that long-term funds be invested so that protecting the purchasing power of such funds is a secondary investment goal. If the board, and this is important, if the board feels the only goal for investing these funds should be capital preservation via CDRs or whatever investment guaranteed by the U.S. government, then the Budget and Finance Committee should move on to more pressing financial matters rather than taking the time in developing a comprehensive investment policy, which would not be needed. So they're using good sense. They're coming to us, and they are proposing a rewrite of FO1, and they're saying that if we agree that the Board of Directors would approve the attached revised FO1, they will look at developing a comprehensive investment policy and bring it back to the board.
Point of order, Mr. President. This is a policy, Jack. So I would suggest again a changing to the language of the motion, and I move the board of directors, except for a first reading, the attached revision. We do not approve changes to guidelines. One reading, one meeting.
That's correct.
Every series of meetings.
You're right. I stand corrected.
First reading.
Yeah, this is a first reading.
Well, I suggest, okay, do we have a second for the motion?
I second it.
Oh, you did second it.
I seconded it.
Okay, we have discussion. I suggest, since the motion is for a first reading, we can go on later, that we answer the other question, but and just go up and down in either direction, or I'll go first. And the question that was asked is, will you accept this change? And I have to say that I won't. That although it's extremely well written and has a lot of protections in it, my inclination, based on experience, hard experience, that the only protection we have for capital, everything else, if you're talking about worrying about capital or buying power preservation, you're talking about risk. And
Talking about rate, is that what you said?
Risk. And I don't care how hard you try, there's going to be risk associated with it. And I don't know any way that first we reasonably decide what that risk, what amount of risk is okay. And it won't be us. I mean, it'll be other boards, and it'll be other budgeting committees. So who's to say? I've been through this. I've seen the experience in very conservative, very good investments where we still ended up losing. So I don't know a way around that question, and I don't think we should try and find a way around it. We should simply act. That's my take. Yeah.
Yeah, the new FO1, the only thing that's distasteful to me, of course, is under C, fund investments. Investments shall be placed in securities as specified in the investment policy statement. We don't have an investment policy statement.
Right.
Without an investment policy statement, it could be anything. Now,
Well, it has to be approved by board action.
doesn't say that.
It doesn't say that.
This is just one of the many books that Dunmarty reads. It's published by the Community Association Institute, which is the standard bearer for homeowners and condominium associations. Guys, this is the only things they recommend. And they go on to say things about anything else is just not proper prudent fiduciary or good fiduciary due the membership. Right now, we're sitting on what's our CDs? We're less than 1%.
Anywhere from 0.25, 0.75.
Right now, we're at 0.07 or 0.8.
It's in the money.
You can walk right across the street and get triple that. We're just not trying. I mean, we don't need to go to T-bills, which are earning less than this CD. 5-year T-bills, as of Monday, I can't support the motion because I don't know what they're going to invest the money in.
Right.
Period.
I like Jack's comment. Perhaps we could hear budget finance as to why they think this might be a good idea to do this.
Can we hear from the rest of the board?
Also,
Let's go up and down first.
All right.
Yeah.
If I can say something, I talked to Jack on the phone about this, but the guidelines, as Murray mentioned, number 3, the fund assets. They mentioned the fund assets in the investment guidelines, and then they talk about fund investments on the change, not the asset, just the investment, which I think is a different situation, because on the assets it tells you, it spells out what they can use of the U.S. government or federal agency, so on and so forth. But on the fund investments, you just say investments or replacement securities as specified by the investment policy statement. I don't think one replaces the other. I think you can have fund assets in there and fund investments. So I don't see why you have to have that. That's my question.
I actually already wrote a letter an email to the Budget and Finance Committee as well as the board on this one. My first question was, as written, it basically states we have to hire a fund manager, and there's no minimum amount of money that you have to have. At some point, it doesn't make any sense to be paying a third party to manage your money. You know, when you've got $50,000, you don't pay a fund manager to manage it. There needs to be some minimum established, at least in my mind. And there's other questions I've got. I don't have any objection of taking this as a first reading, understanding that we're going to need the cooperative, ongoing work hand in hand with the Budget and Finance Committee to work through this. If the intent is to hand this off to us for us to change it to make it right, then I'm less comfortable with accepting it as a first reading if we accepted it with the understanding that maybe a subcommittee of the board will work hand in hand with the Budget and Finance Committee to work through this. But if it's just handing it off to us for us to change it, I'm not as comfortable with that, Jack, as I would be some means of working together to work through some of these issues, because, you know, you're talking about different funds. You're talking about funds that are in place to simply pay for the current year versus the assets over the next 2 years. Beyond that, there's been a lot of very good, solid work done in this, but I think a collaborative approach to this going forward, as opposed to us simply taking it and now it's ours to do the changes to it. I would prefer almost a subcommittee be created, Mr. President, to work with the Budget and Finance Committee, but I still would say accept this as a first reading.
Okay. Yeah.
Jack, it's Sharon's turn. Come on, we're going down.
I thought we were going down the line. That's all. I was going to make a comment. That's fine. Go ahead.
You already had. Well, we started. You already had yours. Now we're back to Sharon.
I am fine with this as a first reading. I think that's a good suggestion, Tom, that we get a committee to go and meet with Budget and Finance. I think I could see some positives in this. I've sat through some of the Budget and Finance meetings about limitations of CDARs, so there might be a better way to do it. However, I would need information. So I think that I think it's a good start. And I don't have a problem with Gene giving us what the reasoning or thought process was. But if you don't want to do that, that's...
I would prefer not, because I think the issue is, and it has been talked about. Bill?
I'm familiar with this because I was liaison to that committee last year. This just personally scares me when you're reaching out like this. Me personally, I am a very, very, very conservative investor. And with people's money that I'm responsible for, I'm even more a conservative investor. I know that we've lost significant amounts in the past by a 4 to 4-3 vote, and that just scares me that, you know, we would go there again. That's just, I don't have a problem with it for first reading and then do a subcommittee or whatever. But you know, as far as end game, I'm pretty much, there would have to be significant changes to it.
Okay, I'll just add one last thing. First reading, I won't approve it for that because I know that the fundamental issue cannot change. It's a function of whether or not good funds that are in guaranteed safe investments by the United States government, or you choose any other investment, which will put those funds at risk. And I don't believe, personally, that this board or any board of an HOA should be able. And that's where I.
Well,
so if we have a second reading or a third reading, it won't change my mind.
Well, fine, but well, now it's my turn.
Go ahead.
Okay. I would like to give the committee a chance. They put a lot of work into this, and they are invested in this. So if you could represent the tone and the tenor of the committee and address this board, is Gene back there? Okay. As to where we're coming from here. I would appreciate it. Is that okay?
Gene, you've got 5 minutes. No more. No more. No more.
Gene Rainstor, Gene Boat. The committee is charged with dealing the resolutions, and so we looked at FO1 as one of the resolutions, among others. One of the things we noted that the current resolution says you should be using a third party to manage it, not doing, so that requires a revision. The second discussion, which is whoever wrote that little thing that quoted Jack, was brilliant writer. And our primary thing has been, over the history of Ocean Pines usually carries a balance anywhere from $1 to $3 billion in its reserve for spending in the future, not current spending. And the consensus of the Finance Committee was that as long as you have as the only goal capital preservation, you're probably not going to be able to protect the purchasing dollar of those reserves that you would use in the future. So our concern was, or our thought was, that as a secondary, not primary goal, secondary, the primary goal would remain capital preservation. The secondary would be try to preserve the purchasing power. Some of us feel that, I'll speak for me, some of me, feel that to collect money from the home that's going to lose purchasing power, probably not the best way to go, because you're going to have to go right back. They thought they were contributing funds for a certain future asset. You're going to have to go back and say, well, I don't have enough because inflation ate away at we had. At any rate, that was the purpose, to say, and to Dave, to your specific point, well, in 2013, we initially put together an FO1 where I had developed comprehensive investment policy statement. Comprehensive meaning performance measures against which judge the investment manager, how many times you go below that, all that. And you suggested that that was way too complex for a board, that you should keep it simple, one page. And that's why we felt, okay, to satisfy that, we would just want to get the sense, go through this effort to develop a comprehensive policy statement, to just get this motion is really a sense of the board. Is the board, if the board is only going to stick with capital preservation, is only goal, single goal for any of the reserve, then we don't need to do much more work other than to say that we should eliminate the need for an investment manager current policy. That was the sense. And that's why we didn't want to produce a comprehensive investment policy. It's a lot of work to do if you're going to say we don't want preservation.
No, that was a smart.
That's right. Thank you. Thanks, Gene.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I understand everything that the Budget and Finance Committee is saying. And you're not the first Budget and Finance to suggest it for watching the video before I ever got on the board 10 years. That's just on talking about how more aggressive investments do. At any rate, it's an old argument, and I keep coming back to the fact that, personally, I'm not going to invest my money the way you were investing Ocean Pines, but on the other hand, it's not. And I see no other way than avoid the problem of risk, judgment, involvement, and stick with it. So, but at any rate, if we want to talk over it, and spend it on that. Sure, go ahead.
When people, and it was said right here in the court that it was a mistake, it was sold, it was a 4-3 vote, lost money. The mistake was invested in the PNC limited mutual bond. That was the mistake. It wasn't selling.
Marty, you're getting into an area where
Well, that keeps coming up to me. That's
I know.
Because
But
we allowed that kind of investment.
That's your
Point of order.
Yeah,
This motion
okay,
is
we're
all
wrong.
about going to a first reading. or
Right.
not.
Okay, either vote. Yeah, let's call the question of sending this, accepting this motion for as a first read, with the intention that a subcommittee be formed to.
I don't think the subcommittee is necessary, Mr. President. I think the motion stands on its merits. The gentleman has made his points very clear in that he wants the sense of the board as to whether or not.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll have that sense in a section. I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to accept this for first read, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
4-3.
4-3.
Okay. Now you will have to tell me what happens next year.
Well, what happens next is, as you said, in a month, it is a first reading. At the next board meeting, it will be brought up again, and it will be voted upon. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if any individual wants to reach out to the Budget and Finance Committee, these fellows have...
No, let me say, if any individual wants to reach out, this will be posted on the webpage, and it'll be instructions to reach out, not to the Budget and Finance meeting, to the Board of Directors.
Okay. Which is correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving along a little bit better.
That was on number
Oh, you're right.
And make it quick.
Quick.
Aye.
Jack, you stop talking to be quicker. I move that board direct general manager to immediate wholesale lifetime memberships to the Ocean Pines.
Second. Before you even said it.
Okay. There's
Any discussion?
none have been. Is there any discussion?
I'll call it.
You can't call it.
You can't call it. You can request it.
Only if I die.
Wait a minute, that could be a right.
No, he's about fourth
I
down.
call the
He's different.
question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right. Karen?
She anticipated a long discussion.
I think she did the smart thing, which I'm probably doing.
Next one.
I think she's going to, but she doesn't. We'll just change the vote. I move that the Board of Directors extend the deadline for receipt of a board application.
We had a vote when we were going. We didn't realize we were out of a room.
Yeah, we're sorry, Sharon.
Discontinue lifetime membership.
That was the motion, suspend sales, lifetime membership. Okay, so you're voting for it. Okay. I move the Board of Directors extend the deadline for receipt.
I will vote for it. Okay. 7-0.
Okay. Extend the deadline for receipt of board applications to, that's actually, board candidate application to Monday, May 11th, 2015. Currently, it's on, they're due on Sunday. We're just pushing them out a day. Okay, I'm going to call that question.
Was it been second?
Is it legit? I is that?
Well, it's Sunday.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
don't think it's legit in our bylaw. Maybe they gotta have it in by Saturday. Or, it gets in the mail, this postcard Monday.
we get it Monday. Yeah, that's what.
I just, tell me, if it's legal, I'm in.
This is a clarification of our bylaws. I did talk to our bylaws section, and I didn't get any pushback, so.
I don't see the necessity of it,
Well, I think it's
but I could care.
good. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Okay. Motion. Quorum proxy form. That's you.
Okay, go ahead.
Is this a new one?
Yeah.
cease inclusion of the proxy.
Got it.
Yes. Motion is to cease the practice of including quorum proxy forms in the voter packages for next election, as directed by the OPA Board Secretary, provide information to voters regarding the availability of quorum proxy forms and how they may be obtained. Background. The election committee has reported there have been numerous issues with supplying a proxy for obtaining a quorum in with the election materials. Even with clear instruction, voters are using the proxy envelope for returning their ballot, which nullifies their vote. Proxies for establishing a quorum annual meeting or any full membership meeting should not be a function of the elections committee overseeing the election and or referendum. Secretary of the Board of Directors, with the support of OPA staff, should be responsible for quorum proxies. The effect of this motion is that the Elections Committee will no longer have the responsibility nor the authority to oversee the provisioning proxies for the purpose of a quorum. The Secretary of the Board of Directors, in association with the OPA staff, to establish and manage the provisioning of quorum proxies for annual meeting or any other meeting called for the entire membership. I have a second.
Second. Marty Clark, second. Discussion. Not from Joe Reynolds. Discussion.
What do we do if there is not a quorum there?
Same thing that's specified in the bylaws. We'll ratify the election the next day. Their board. And other than that, that's whatsoever. Marty, can I call the question? Okay, you have more discussion?
Is it a problem about?
No, it is not a problem.
I'll take your word for it then. Call the question.
I call the question.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Jack, did you oppose?
No, I'm
Following, let's see, Marty Clark, last one. Promise.
I move the board directs our general manager to investigate options for the improvement of the operational bottom line performance at our new yacht club facility. Said options should include the possibility that we close down and winterize the yacht facility on or around the first week of October and not recommission the facility until April of 16. Until such time as the GM can provide a report on these options, no new banquet or catered events are to be booked, which may impede the implementation of an off-season closing option, should that option be accepted by the board. Should there be any enforceable banquet or catering event contract currently in place, the general manager will provide the board with evidence of same. Second, go for drinks.
I'll second for discussion.
Can I hand this out? This is just more graphs, guys, but it really shows, I think page 2 of this will show you just how, this isn't a reflection on anybody or any facilities. This is a summer resort. That's where we live. I don't care what anybody wants to say. It is a summer resort.
We need you more over here, Marty.
What's that?
Here.
I'm coming.
Okay.
I cannot get to two places at once.
Yes, you can. You can do it. I've seen you do it.
Okay, I'll start.
You need one here?
If discussion is open.
I also have it on a chart if we have an easel. So people in the back of the room can see it. Okay. Perhaps we can get somebody in a bikini to carry it around.
Not you.
I hope not.
Yeah, hold it up there for Josh to get your picture.
Wait a minute. Let's make it look really good.
Marty, you remind me of us.
I guess the kind of half problem is in the first part of the motion. I really believe that we have to look at this problem, and I think we should look at this problem seriously. And obviously, the GM would have to lead with a report and provide the options. I don't know that it has GM. But in terms of, I guess, the problem I have on a certain GM is the second part, where we're turning down the banquet business, turning down the banquet business until we resolve this first. I mean, that, we don't know what.
That's why we should move quickly.
We should move quickly, but not, at least I don't think so. I don't think
If
you
you
should
work
do it.
a firm contract for a wedding on December 15th, you can take this and throw it in the trash. You're now talking about 17th.
You'll be talking about 7.
Because this doesn't work if the building isn't interim.
That's correct. Doesn't work. I mean, so you are talking about 17 if I agree with that. So, any other comments?
The problem that I have with the motion, and I don't know if there's some flexibility here or not, is that we close down and winterize the yacht club facility on or around the first week in October. Well, that happens to be one of the prime months. Check me if I'm wrong, Bob, but one of the prime months for package plans for golfers. They come down to Ocean City and they play various courses, and hopefully we should be able to capture some of that business. That's the October, first part of November time frame. I think it gets a little iffy after mid to late November. It's Thanksgiving per se. The other issue that I have is that if Mr., and I really appreciate Mr. Zawacki doing this, but if Mr. Zawacki's figures are correct, we're looking at a profitable month in October and looks like November. And then, am I wrong?
Yeah, you're right.
Let me see.
So June, July, August,
So
and
November looks a little profitable, and then December it goes negative. So, Marty, I don't know if December 31 is doable for you, or if
That's what the general manager tells us.
I see. Okay, well that's my primary concern about the time frame here.
Mr. President,
Yes.
if this motion read that the general manager investigate options, I'm sure he's already doing that. There's no question that there's a big issue as to how well the yacht club performs and activities that could make the off-season, shoulder season more successful. That's the focus of where the energies need to be spent, and they are already being spent in doing that. This motion sends a motion. I can just see the headlines now. Ocean Pines Board votes to possibly close yacht, because that's exactly what this does. If you start failing to accept catering and banquet events while some research study is going on, the damage will be done immediately in the public eye if we pass this motion. It sounds and reads very innocuous. The reality is the damage from this motion is uncalculable. You do not announce that you may close something based on some study that may be coming. Every bride, maybe not everyone, but if I'm a bride, I'm walking away from the yacht club right now if this board of directors passes a motion that even comes close to announcing that the yacht club is going to be closed. It is beyond the pale, the negativity that can come from this, regardless of how you couch this motion. The reality is it's stating to the public, we may close the yacht club rather than work to make it be more functional. We've had the arguments back and forth over whether it's an amenity or not. I can quote the costs per member if I have to, which is very, very small, so I won't. But you have my position is you pass this motion, you have irreputably damaged the image of our yacht club and all the efforts that can go into making it successful. So 10 months after we open. Okay, I'm done.
Mayor, that ship has sailed. We've lost $250,000, $224,962 the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And you're worried about damaging our reputation?
Dear
That statement
God.
stands. Thank you.
Tom, okay, the statement stands. And I'll just say that I mean, basically in your statement, I just can't accept it. I mean, you're saying that's not even ever consideration.
Where's damn the torpedo?
Of course it can be a consideration, sir. Of course it can, but not based on some motion from a board of directors announcing we might close. That is just beyond the pale of it just doesn't make any sense. You charge the general manager and the team over there with the new manager coming in to take the new building, take the lessons learned document that was just written by an advisory committee, and you tell them, go for it. And you do things like trivia, which is filling up our restaurant on Sunday nights already. So there's lots of activities and lots of things that can be done. This motion does exactly what I said it would do in the public eye, and my statement stands.
Yeah,
You may not agree with it, that's fine.
the numbers don't agree with. When you talk about trivia, and we're doing all these wonderful things, but 5 weeks, starting February 22 on Sundays, gross sales, gross, 3,000. This is an average, $3,590. Gross. For God's sakes, Pickles Pub would shut their door if they had a day like that.
Right.
We're not doing anything, guys. It's getting worse and
Okay.
worse and worse.
Sharon?
Thank you. I just didn't know if you could see this up here. Okay. All right. I take offense to the comment, Marty. You said this is a vacation and community. This is not a vacation community. Every one of us up here is full-time, and I think everyone out there is
And
full-time.
therein lies the problem.
And
Okay.
I have the floor, Marty. And that's inappropriate. If someone's trying to have the floor, you shouldn't be interrupting.
Okay,
Excuse me for being.
Hey, I don't need instructions, Sharon, on, you give me a chance, and you'll keep, okay? Now, please.
What I was saying is that this motion here is not referencing the people that are living here year-round who want a yacht club facility or a meeting place for them to go. And I totally agree with Tom's comments about the brides and all the catering events. They plan weddings a year out or more. And if they're all of a sudden told this may or may not be open, we are just shooting ourselves in the foot because they're not going to be there for the events. We have a facility. It's for our people. The management is doing the best they can. Hopefully they will do better. We have a new manager coming in. But to close this thing is absolutely, I agree with Tom's comment, beyond the pale.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Well, I would go along with that. I'd add this, that if you shut the facility down, you're going to lose your chef, you're going to lose your manager. All the quality people are going to look for employment right now. And when you reopen again in June, you're going to have a hamburger flipper and a couple of people off the street running it. And that's not going to be acceptable at all.
No. Guys, we can't do any worse. We've been closing Beach Club every year at the end of the season. And lo and behold, it opens every June.
It's
How
a
do we
beach
do that?
club.
Beach
It's a
club.
wholly different
It is
facility.
not. This, look, off-season performance at Yacht Club is unacceptable to anybody's measure. We have a fiduciary duty to be good stewards of our membership's money, not our year-round residents' money, our membership's money. And when you talk about this, we don't have a fiduciary duty for a gathering place. This isn't a retirement community in Virginia.
I think the two
The
sides.
open for business plan is great. You got to have the business part of it.
Look,
Oh,
okay,
yes,
let
go
me
on.
just end this, if I can, okay, and say that I really, I can't accept Marty's motion as written, but I believe he's right in that we have not had a serious look. You say, let the clubs committee do it. Well, back in September, Sharon, last September, I made a motion to say, let's look at the data. Let's look at what we're getting out of catering. Let's examine what's happened closely. And that said, let the clubs committee do it. Okay, well, the clubs committee, they worked hard. And what they basically gave us was a bunch of opinions. A bunch of opinions. There's no data. There's nothing to support that. And I think that you say, well, let the general manager do it, but he was there those 6 months, and we still don't have any data. We don't have any hard information at all. So, I don't accept what Tom says. I don't accept what you say. But at the same time, Marty, I can't vote for this motion because I can't shut down. And I just wanted to get.
It doesn't say shutting down.
It says shutting down the catering business. It does. It does. It says shut down the catering.
Request you call the question.
Okay. Well, hey, you know what? I get to talk too.
Yes, you do.
And all right, I will call the question.
You two hanging around.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye, of course.
Okay, all opposed?
Nay. Oh, look, the one user of the yacht club's thrilled.
Okay, we have pretty close, not real close. Liaison reports.
Remorse or I got pending actions.
We can go over this again, but I mean, I already got.
You got RFI.
Missing the pending actions.
Legal services and accounting services RFI.
That's it.
Yeah, is there any, what's the status on that book?
Well, we have, and I didn't bring them both. I have the RF.
That's good.
I have both. As Mr. Stevens will tell you, we already executed on the 12-month contracts as requested at the last board meeting, and we have the RFIs ready to go out for the.
Wait a minute. Point of order. I wrote the motion. My motion said to create a contract for board review.
I believe that motion, now you're testing my memory. I believe that.
You got the minutes.
Got the minutes.
It says, Tom Terry, Board of Directors hereby directs the General Manager to develop a proposed contract for services with TGM Group for the next 12 months and to submit such contract.
Both of those motions were passed, and they're both in progress.
Right.
There was another motion to develop an RFI.
No, I'm fine with that, but Bob just said the contract should be signed.
Yeah, well,
that's correct.
That's right. Okay.
Right.
Now we want to know what happened to the RFI.
That's what I was explaining.
That's what I thought. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, on a point of order, folks, the motion said for the contracts to be brought for board approval.
Oh, I see.
Not for them to be signed. It's for board approval.
Yeah.
That's a big oops.
So, yeah.
Oops. That's an oops, I think, Bob. I really, I'm assuming that the contract, say the contract was signed, basically extended it for the same contract. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
It is correct. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, technically, it should have been brought to the board, I suppose, to be extended for another year, but I also think technically that the board motion gave you the authority to do that, and we really don't have a problem. That's what I think. Okay.
Yes. Not right, but go ahead.
Not right, but go ahead.
Not right, but go ahead. Okay. Now, we've got environmental and natural assets report.
He didn't answer his.
I have the RFIs done, so I can put them out if the board wants me to. If they don't want me to, I assume they would want.
Please. I move that the RFIs be released as written.
I second. All in favor?
We see them.
Opposed?
Yeah.
Opposed. We have one opposed. Okay.
Do we have any discussion?
You can have discussion.
I just think we're telling these companies, hey, we just signed a contract for a year with somebody else, but in a year, if maybe you might think about putting it in, I think wasting everybody's time. If I'm that legal group or I'm that auditor, I'm taking that and putting it right in the shredder. Say in a year, if you're gonna have an open process, we'll apply. But why are you telling me you just signed with somebody for a year and maybe next year you might think about something out? I think it's a waste of our people's time and our time.
We're gathering
discussions.
Gathering
It's
information.
an RFI. It's an RFI, not an RFP.
I get that.
He knows that, but it is.
At the time, he could have.
Anyway, okay, now can we
I sent this to everybody. Everybody had a copy of the tree planting and the environmental natural assets advisory committee. There's a lot of work taking care of some dead trees, volunteers in the rain. I want to make loud praise of a neighbor and friend, Gene Parker, local real estate developer who donated the tree. Year two, anything we've asked for to rent the tree, he's got it for us. That's that. Thank you.
Golf council minutes, I didn't.
Yeah, the tone and tenor of the last meeting was very positive, and I think it's very hopeful for the future. Some of the items that the members kind of expressed and put into the minds of the LU party that attended, Scott Nestle. They would like to reestablish the Greens Committee. Members want to be more involved in the club, and they're talking about repairing divots, even planting flowers, painting the interior, cleaning the roof, all kinds of stuff. I mean, it just kept flowing. They would like to help in refreshing the country club. Members want to help in building new membership. It was suggested that a senior clinic be developed. They have a junior golf program. Talking about a senior golf program, which, several people on this board might be eligible to bring more people to the course, practice golf, and play golf and things of that nature. It was a very good meeting, a very positive meeting, and I'm really looking forward to some good things happening over that golf course.
Okay, thank you, Jay. County commissioners, minutes, you're not going
to... the only thing I want to say is that I'm going to deliver the last month's meetings to Michelle for the records for Bob to review, and I indicated to Bob that they're rewriting the code as it applies to electricians. I made Bob aware of that, and all that stuff is going to be in there, and I'll give it to him.
Tom?
Yeah, two quick things. I just wanted to let you know, the board know, that the ARC is in the final stages of rewriting and adjusting Section 600, which is the signage guideline, which, so within the next 60 days, we will be receiving that from the ARC for our review. And also, Racket Committee, at our last meeting, they had a motion which passed unanimously to recommend to Ocean Pines that they move the Racket Sports Center to a self-management managed by the OPA staff as opposed to paying. They made it was a very long and impassioned discussion about lack of performance. I just wanted the board to be aware that that recommendation was made, that we do not renew Dave Marshall's contract, that we move to a internally managed function, and so that I want to make sure the board was aware of that recommendation from to the board. Okay, that's it.
Okay, that's
it. Mr. Stevens, just a quick note. Jack failed to mention about golf tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
the LU event.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there is a community-wide event. There's a community-wide event to be held between 1 and 4 p.m. That is sponsored by LU. It involves, the weather may be a little iffy, so it will probably be held inside of the country club. There'll be some speeches made. There'll be some free food, light hors d'oeuvres kind of thing, free drinks, and weather permitting, either a putting contest or a driving contest.
They don't care. Once you got past the drinks,
yeah.
That's enough.
What ball?
Okay, look, we had some committee applications to go through.
I move they all be accepted.
I second.
I'm going to read the names. Frank Dancast, for something, for elections. Brad Gibson, Recreation Park. Glenn Duffy, be reappointed to the park. ARC. Oh, really? How good? How great? Oh, good. Tim Mullen.
I don't know where Tim Mullen is from.
Marie?
On the Marine Advisory Committee. Hired Dave.
Oh, get that. Okay, can I have a motion to accept?
You missed Tim McMullen.
Second.
There's a Tim McMullen.
There's a Tim McMullen and a Tim Mullen, according to my list here. But I don't have one.
He's right.
I don't have an application.
That's all
You
right.
don't need one for Tim McMullen because he's just being chair. He doesn't need it. He's already on the committee.
Okay.
He's just being appointed as chair because our chair is stepping down.
We'll reappoint.
Who's the liaison?
That is Recreation and Parks.
Who's the liaison?
I'm the liaison to that. Recreation and Parks?
Okay, can I have a motion to accept?
Yes, so moved.
Okay, can I have a second for Jack Stutzko?
Second.
Okay, Pat beat you to it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
The original sign.
Okay.
There was no press comments.
Press
comments.
I'm sorry,
There
but
always some-
media is sitting here. They're wanting their time.
Okay, does any press, Josh says no. Anybody else? No,
I do have a suggestion
Move to
about
adjourn.
how we plan our meeting.
Can I have a second to adjourn?
Got it.
Gotta go home and pick up the boss.
That's all we had to do. They were free, right?
Dwight, come here.